All right. We are going to go ahead and get started. And to kick us off, I am first going to introduce Mike Pell, Envisioneer, author, and director of the Microsoft Garage, to tell us a little bit about where we are before we dive into the content of the day. And that is Mike. I mean, aw.
That is not an AI picture because nothing could be that funny, right? So again, welcome. My name is Mike Pell. The Microsoft Garage is Microsoft's worldwide innovation program. The Garage program is in many different parts of the world. There's 15 of these places like we're in right now that are spread out all over. And what we try to do is help Microsoft employees take their ideas and their passion and do something with it, just like what you're going to do today. It's a very hands-on kind of a program. We really encourage everybody to roll up their sleeves, excuse me, and just jump in. And so I think you're going to find today to be incredibly enlightening. This is what I get to do every day here in the Garage, is work with Microsoft's top customers to sort of show them what's possible now, how to speed up or streamline or envision something they didn't even think they could be doing. But when they walk out the door, they're positive that they can. And all of this starts with you individually being willing to experiment and try things out. That's my best advice. If someone says, what class should I take to learn AI? I always tell them none. Just pull out your favorite AI assistant agent and just start talking to it like it's a person or your trusted advisor. You'll be amazed at what it knows and what it can help you with. So with that, Gina, you ready to get started?
Let's do it. I'm ready. All right. So I am Gina Waldhorn. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of Sports Innovation Lab. If you don't know who we are, you're going to learn. But we are data insights and analytics company that's helping the entire sports industry understand, reach, acquire their future fans. I'm going to be one of your hosts for today. The other one is our co-founder and CEO, Josh Walker. That is Josh doing a little skiing. So we're going to switch on and off. Today's going to be very interactive, but we're also going to have Travis Fleischer. Travis, raise your hand. Travis is founder of Twin Brain AI. He's a close partner of Microsoft and Sports Innovation Lab and a bit of an AI guru. He's going to bring us through some demos. So throughout the day, any questions, anytime you see any of us, come talk to us and we'll hopefully answer those for you. But I want to get started with, why did you guys come here today? And why did we put this on today? Well, to start and give you a little bit of a narrative around that, we came here because we all are in a bit of the same challenge, which is that it used to be really easy to find and connect and engage with sports fans, right? They look like that guy. And they all showed up to the same place. We could catch them all watching live TV broadcast of sports across a handful of networks. And it was really easy to sell advertising, buy advertising, create advertising and programs to reach these fans because we knew who they were and they all showed up to watch. But then we know what happened. Things changed. And it's not because less people were watching sports. It's quite the contrary. Sports didn't decline. The watching of live sports didn't decline. It just evolved and it changed and it fragmented and it started to bring in new types of fans, casual fans who wanted clips, who wanted highlights, who wanted to just bet, who wanted to stream from their phone or from the plane. And so while it kind of looked a little doom and gloom, that's not the situation at all. Sports exploded, but it became much more difficult to find and reach the fan. And as technology evolved, the fan evolved. And in the new age of sport, fans are fluid fans. Sports Innovation Lab coined this term, the fluid fan, about 2018, and it describes a next generation fan who follows athletes instead of teams, who's empowered to choose, who's open to change, and who's consistently and continually evolving. They follow collectibles. They might make some bets. They want their bite-sized content. Baseball to them might be a flaming banana ball. It looks very different. They act very different. They access their sports in new ways. But we all did a good job finding them, and especially everyone in this room. You guys got it. you ascribe to the next gen, the future fan, and you started to deliver tools and technologies and platforms to meet them where they are and adjust to this new evolution. And even though technology moved fast, you guys kept up. We started delivering them food into their seats. We met them on OTT with direct to consumer channels, right? We started to use softwares like Core and Kager. We brought in identity resolution to figure out, oh, that Gina who bought that shirt is that same Gina who came to the game, right? The W nailed TikTok. We started to figure out social media, right? Everything was, we were doing good. We were keeping pace with the fluid fan. And then this happened, right? And things just changed rapidly. And we're all here again because it can feel a little overwhelming. And there's a lot of talk out there, and it can feel a little scary. Let's not lie. Like it's overwhelming and it can be a bit intimidating. But you guys are at the forefront of the sports and entertainment industry. Again, it's why you guys showed up today. And so you're ready to dive into this. And probably what's most kind of terrifying about this is just how fast it happened. And so we're going to have a few trivia questions here today. This is going to be your first one. And we got some women's sports merch to give you if you get the answer right. But we looked at the time it took for technologies, like game-changing technologies, to reach 100 million users, right? So it took the telephone 75 years, took the internet 7 years, so pretty big jump there. It took Facebook 4.5 years to reach 100 million users. It took Instagram about half of that, 2.5 years to get to 100 million users. Who knows how quickly ChatGPT got to 100 million users?
4 days. 6 months. 1 year. 1 year.
Less than a year.
2 weeks.
Oh man, I'll come up with another question and give the shirt out later. 2 months. 2 months it took to get to 100. Did you get that? All right. We got our winner of the shirt. 2 months for ChatGPT to reach 100 million users. And what did you say they said they're bringing on a day or a week? You had a quote number for me? It probably changed. It's something, it's just moving incredibly fast. And congratulations, we are going to send you, and everyone watches women's sports shirts. So come find me after, you pick your size. Love to give out that women's sports merch. And we're here today to demystify and to show you that AI is here to help. It's here to help automate and augment and become a part of your team. And rising tide floats all boats. And that's what we're going to show you today. Now, why are we here? Why is Sports Innovation Lab putting on an AI training program? So let me explain why we decided to do this. It's very natural for us because we've built this entire company always talking about what comes next. If you've read our research or downloaded any of our reports, we are obsessed with that fluid fan, with the evolving sports landscape and the technologies that are going to transform that fan experience. If you haven't read some of our reports, they're all free on our newly designed website. So go check them out. And we've been preparing for this. We knew this was coming, and we know that data is going to be a differentiator for you to activate on all of these new platforms. And so we have built the industry's only consumer cloud that is purpose-built for sports and entertainment. We reach over 250 million US consumers, and we know everything about them. We know how they behave, but most importantly, we know it through the lens of sports and entertainment, because in an AI-driven future, domain expertise will be the differentiator. And you need good data, and we're going to get into this in a little bit, in order to make these tools work on your behalf. And our Fluid Fan Graph, which is built on top of our consumer data cloud, covers every team and league, emerging team, venue, betting platform, merch supplier, youth sports hockey rink is all included and in our ontology that allows us to do personalization and understand who these fans are to plug into these tools. Now, you don't have to have this to use these tools. We're going to show you what it looks like. But we're here, and the reason we put this on is because we've placed the right bet and we've built the right tools. And so we know that we've got the credibility, and we're showing that it works. We're taking billions of rows of data that look like this. This is some actual data of ours. And we're turning into something that looks like this. We're figuring out from all of these different signals how to use models to decipher and figure out who this fan is, what they're worth, what are they buying, what brands are they obsessed with, what sports are they leaning into, what sports do they not care about anymore, and then activate that. And when we do, it works, right? We're able to optimize ROAS. We're able to build propensity scores for clients like Dentsu. We're able to create next level personas for clients like Kellanova. When you use the right data and you have the right models, it works. But a lot of this right now is being used for media and advertising. And that's important. That's critical to improve that ROAS and make those ads work harder. But that is just the tip of the iceberg. You got to get your house in order. You got to figure out how to use the data for that. But what we're really excited about, what we're going to talk to you about today, is everything under the water. All of the fan experience and what's really possible when you start applying new AI models and tools to the vertical of sports and entertainment. So we're going to spend the next hour and a half and we're going to go over some goal setting. I want to hear from you guys. What do you want to learn today? What problems are keeping you up at night? So we're going to get some interactivity and you're going to tell us some things you hope we answer today or in the future. Josh is going to come up and give you an awesome landscape overview, give you some definitions, show you some cool stuff. We're going to do some live demos that we're going to show you. Then we're going to break out and we're going to get your hands on keyboards and we're going to build some shit live together. And then we're going to have some drinks and network at the end. But let's go ahead and see some cool shit first. Let's get you inspired. Let's not just talk, let's show. So I'm really excited right now. We went out there and we scoured the tool landscape and we wanted to find something that felt different, but that felt important to sports and entertainment. And one of those companies is Staked AI. And I have Chris Shreve, co-founder of Staked AI, come on up to the podium. And when we think about what's important in sports, something that stands out is audio. And they're doing something transformative with AI in the audio space. And we're going to work together. We're going to build something cool. But Chris, why don't you take a second or two and tell us a little bit about the audio space and about Staked?
All right, thanks, guys. I wish that I had a cute picture of myself when I was younger, because as the AI tech person, I'm probably seen as more of the Terminator than the cute person playing sports. So AI voice, there's a lot of terminology. The idea of automated voice is not new. We've all called into call centers. We've all heard those robotic voices on social media voiceover when we're scrolling through reels. What's happening now is akin to what happened with ChatGPT for text. We're able to create emotionally intelligent audio that can actually make people feel, whereas ChatGPT allowed us to do. What's really exciting about audio, particularly for sports, is that's how we convey sports. We talk about it. That's why we don't watch games on mute. And so what we're building is really that next opportunity for vertical application within sports. And everything that you see today and hear today, whether it's from us, whether it's from Sports Innovation Lab, this is as bad as it's going to be. It is only going to get better, right? Everything from now on is going to be exponentially quicker, faster, and better. So how does this apply in the sports landscape? Came across some really, really crazy data. So sports fans in the US in the last 12 months have listened to 775 billion minutes of audio. It's incredible. The amount of audio that fans are listening to continues to increase. And really, as it relates to sports media, we can't create content fast enough. The game day news cycle is quick, it's fast. And we need to be able to meet fans where they're listening content, but we're constrained, bandwidth issues, budget issues. And so what we really want to empower is the ability to create content at scale, but not only just create content at scale, personalize that content at scale. And so we're going to go through and do some cool shit.
I heard a good quote. A major sports book said it took them 2 hours to create 45 seconds of audio content. So I got excited because this is a company that can solve that. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and build some audio content using an AI platform, and we want some feedback from you guys so we can build it live together. So what are we looking at and how do we start building?
All right, so our platform is a B2B platform. We want to be an ally to sports media and not someone that's taking away from the content creation process. So our platform enables you to go in and input the content and have editorial control over the podcast style audio that you're creating. So WNBA draft was earlier this week.
I said that's what I wanted to do this on, was WNBA draft. So we're going to do some women's sports examples. So we want to create a piece of content that talks about highlights, goes over, for those who missed it, just gives perspective on what happened on Monday. Sound good?
Cool. Listener address. What do we want to open this up with? What do we want to say to the person?
What are we going to say to the host? What is the host going to call the people listening? Like Hoopers, Liberty Nation, Hoopies? What do you guys like? Anyone got an idea? What do you want to be called? Dub fans. How about dub fans? W fans. W fans? Hey, W fans. Okay.
Perfect. All right. So then source materials. So again, what we want to empower is taking that text content, that summary content, and transforming that text into conversational audio. So what we're going to go and do is some source material is we're going to take high-level content from the WNBA website, and this is going to then collect information. We also supplement that information with our own data and content and context. We can change age groups. So how are we going to actually speak to the fan? The way that we want to communicate with Gen Z is different than, the boomer sports fan. So let's choose Gen Z, avid fan, wants all the in-depth insights on the 205 WNBA draft. Okay. So also, like, what's the content type? So this is kind of roster news.
Yeah.
Let's do short form. Everybody's attention spans are shorter and shorter. And then speaker profile. So our model is a two-person conversational audio. It's why we have multiple broadcasters. It's why podcasts have multiple hosts. So let's do the first as a sports insider, and maybe the second as a casual
Not
fan.
as smart. Yeah.
Okay, here's where we need some more help here. So one of the areas of content creation that we really want to take to the next step is incorporating curated sponsorship or brand partnerships, as well as calls to action. Creating content's great. The people in this room want to monetize it. And so let's come up with a promotional message. Who is this podcast sponsored by?
What brands do we have in the room? I know
Well-
Allstate's here. What else? Yeah. All right. Can we make it from Allstate?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Is presented by Allstate.
Allstate does not have a.
Oh, sorry.
But is it good to do that for the machine?
I think it'll
Leave
just
it if
say-
you think the machine, we might
No,
need
it
to
won't.
space it for the
No.
machine. We don't, right? I don't know. You built this thing, not me.
Okay, and then what about a call to action? Someone wants to download something, somebody wants to
Download the
purchase
app.
something.
Get a code. What's also, get a free ball from all, what are you going to want to give these folks? Free quote? Get a quote?
Get a quote,
Get a quote?
Okay,
but probably like free merch would really get.
Yeah. Why don't we give them, yeah, go to allstate.com and get your free jersey. Oh, yeah. That's
Okay.
true.
so last part is distribution. Where do you want this to be distributed, right? Is it going to be sent SMS? Is it going to be sent via newsletter, social media? So we want to be able to create different ways for you to distribute it, but not only distribute it, have calls to action to drive to drive that call to action. So sign up now.
Sure. Right. All
Okay.
right. Now you're going to build this. You're going to
Yeah.
crunch it. The machine's going to crunch. Well, okay.
Time to
All right. So you take what now this is like, we're calling it our bake off. So he's going to put it in the oven. We're going to give you like, I don't know, four or 5 minutes max. You got to do this quick because that's the whole point of AI. So he's going to bake it. And I'm going to source a bit of questions from the audience right now while he bakes. And he's going to tell us when he's done. And we're going to see if it worked and what he made. Okay. So what do you guys, I'd love to source some questions. What are things you hope we answer today, or burning questions about AI that are on your mind as it relates to sports, as it relates to broader AI, marketing, fan data? Anyone got anything that's keeping them up at night?
IP rights
IP rights. Ooh, that's a good one.
to help AI learn.
Yep.
So you just cut and paste from WMA.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, data.
Good one.
Data organization,
Mm,
right? What you put in will impact what comes out. So how do you have the best data? Clean data.
yeah. What else? That's a great-
Preventing hallucination.
What is it?
Preventing hallucination.
Preventing hallucination.
Validating the figure of the
Yep.
Yeah, cleanliness
Yep.
of the data.
Oh my God, I can't spell. Oh, wait, I have an eraser. Okay.
How can we automate asset valuations using LLM?
Ooh, love it. Asset validation. Another one where the data is going to have to be correct. Any other questions? Sports, unsports related terms you're hearing that you don't know what they mean? This is a safe space. We are in the circle of trust. We can talk about. Josh has got something with the word rag on it, and I still can't remember what the heck rag means. He's going to tell us. Ah, yeah. Well, so it's interesting you brought that up too, because I noticed when Chris was building that, he called it an autopod, right? He was honest about this autopod. And, I was like, oh, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's probably a good thing as the younger generation comes up and you're being honest that you're not fooling people, but not a lot of people are probably gonna tell you that it actually was automated. So that's great. Mm. True. A lot of companies aren't allowed to play with these tools right now because of sensitivity around data. Oh, yeah.
Chris, are you done already?
Oh.
Chris?
We're good over here.
Oh, you're done?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Ding, ding. The baking is complete. Wow. Okay. That was faster than I thought. All right. We can keep adding to this throughout the day. Does anyone else have anything burning that they just cannot leave here without knowing? And if we don't get to all these today, we got a few more of these sessions we're going to do, some virtually. We're going to come back together later on in the year. We will answer these together. Okay. Tell us what we're looking at.
Okay, so generate the audio. Audio gets pulled into the platform. We're taking the information from the site, the content, the storylines, additional data and information, and then also some of the input from you all. One of the important parts of the audio is being able to transform the content into the language of sports. And so being able to say players' names accurately, being able to know the difference between 14-7, that could be 14-7 as a score, 14-7 as a record. So let's give it a play.
Where's the voice come from?
Yeah, 1 sec.
While you're fixing that, we were asking, where does the word, she wanted to know what it's auto-generated, right? How are you making the actual voice?
Yeah.
1 second.
Okay. Oh, Mike, will you help us with our audio? We had a whole machine build a podcast, but we can't figure out a speaker. Oh, we tested it so many times.
I know.
Any other questions while we're waiting for our board, while we get our audio to work?
So, voiceovers, they get paid all the time for voiceovers. So how are we generating these voices?
Not paying these guys.
Wait,
paying.
fun.
That, yeah, that's true. Yeah, we could, you could probably sample, but it's
But that's like, right, so that's the image and likeness.
right, but not in this case. These are not humans. So no human voice was, no person's voice was used in the making of this. It is all machine generated
Yeah.
vocals. Oh, yep. I love
Gotcha.
that. It's kind of part of the IP rights too.
To the Dallas Wings.
Right, there we go. Almost.
Hey, WNBA fans, the 2025 WNBA draft just transformed the future of the league, with UConn superstar Paige Beckers leading an incredible class as the #1 overall pick to the Dallas Wings.
She's exactly what Dallas needs after that tough 9-31 season. What makes her such a perfect fit?
3-time All-American, National Player of the Year, and she just led UConn to their first title in 9 years. And speaking of perfect fits, this Autopod is sponsored by Allstate, the top insurance provider for WNBA fans.
And how about that second pick? Seattle landed a generational talent.
Dominique Malonga is a 6'6" center who was the first French women's player to dunk in a pro game. At just 19, she averaged 15 points and 10 rebounds overseas.
Washington really crushed it with 2 top 4 picks. What's your take on their draft strategy?
They got the perfect inside-out combo with Sonia Citron at 3 and Kiki Iriafen at 4.
Plus, Ariafin's that dominant post presence they've been missing. This draft class is stacked.
Sure is. And Allstate has a special offer to get your new WNBA rookie jersey. Just go to allstate.com. Catch you next time, Hoops fans.
There you go. Stay tuned in just a few minutes.
Oh, there we go. Stuff.
All right. So what did we tell us what we saw? How did it do that? Someone asked, whose voice is that? What voice did you base that on?
Yeah, so the AI voice models enable us to use human-like podcast-style audio. Those are all automatically generated. So for us, we want to be able to create content fast and at scale. Our North Star and where we really want to go with that sort of automated audio creation is to create personalized podcasts at the individual fan level. So being able to curate that podcast style audio to the individual fan based on their preferences, their fandom, the teams, the players they like. But I think for a lot of those in this room, being able to customize the call to action and the sponsorships that are going to resonate most with that fan. So being able to do this in an automated fashion and at scale will allow us to connect with fans at a deeper level and give them the storylines of sports that matter most to them.
Could you put in though, like input that you want the 2 voices to sound like, or like sample voices, or you want background music, or like you're trying to like set the scene even more so?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share more. Don't want to take away from the conversation today. I think down the road, player voices are going to be cloned. I think our ability to have broadcasters, really being able to personalize the audio as much as possible. And again, the scalability of the audio content creation is massive, because I've actually talked to someone in this room who said, hey, our soccer rosters or our soccer starting lineups come out 90 minutes before the game. We don't have enough time to create a podcast. We don't have enough time to create information, but it's critical context to the game, right? Who's injured? And with this sort of technology and with others that you'll hear about today, we have the ability to engage fans at an individual level at the speed that can get out content within minutes.
That's incredible. Yep.
Mentioned player voices or broadcaster voices. Is it safe to assume that you're making it available and you've licensed the rights to those voices? Like it's in this system?
So our focus as a B2B company is to specifically work with you, the rights holders, the license holders. We want to empower you to leverage those personalities, those players, the data and the content that you have access to, so that you have editorial control over everything that you're creating. I think one of the scary parts about AI is anyone using any information at any time.
Yeah.
And so we want to be an ally to empower you all to create that content using all of the really cool features and functionality that's out there.
Awesome. Last one.
So is there a way to change the personality of the voices, make them sometimes more exciting or louder or quieter? Because right now it's very flat. right? Because it's generated by the system. But does the system have the capability to make it more exciting?
Yep, we have, so our voice models react to capitalized words and also punctuation. There was an ellipses there where you actually heard the woman laugh. There was some exclamation where you can get some inflection, whereas a lot of the traditional text-to-speech is more dictation and robotic. So we want to be able to eventually create a lifelike, entertaining product that looks and sounds and feels like something a fan would want to engage with, but give you the scale to create it in mass.
Yeah. And the thing, if you want to do 30 seconds of content before the soccer match, you've just got the roster, people are placing bets, and you wanted to say, hey, Gina, and you wanted to do that for 1 million fans with all their first names, this technology is doing it now, which is pretty awesome. I agree. You might not want to listen to 2 hours of that yet, but you certainly would love a quick 20 seconds. And now you can do it, which is amazing. Chris, you did it faster than I thought you would. Thank you for showing us some cool shit. All right, now we're going to dive into some education, some language. Josh is going to make this interactive as well. He's the co-founder and CEO of Sports Innovation Lab, and he's going to take you on a landscape overview, his journey through AI, and teach us what we think as sports professionals is most important to know right now.
Hi, guys. Hi. I can't match Tina's energy, so I'm not going to try. But I want, yeah.
Okay, try again.
Okay, better?
Way better.
Right?
Better?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina.
Thank you, Gina. What I want to do is I actually want to start with you guys because I think you're feeling a lot like me a few months ago, which, forgive me for assuming that, but I'm going to. I saw what you guys put in the sign-up sheet. We had a large number of you that said, hey, I'm just getting started. Well, no kidding. What Gina showed you with the ChatGPT thing, that's less than 3 years ago, probably 2.5 years ago now. That sort of just rocked all of our worlds. And what I want to really do for you is kind of walk you through my journey, because I know a number of you are just getting started by the kinds of questions you asked. I'm assuming you're a little bit further along than many of you think. But I want to start with something that I think is super important, and I'll come back to it a few times while I'm talking, which is COVID kind of kicked this industry in its head. And it was the first time that people that we've been talking to since 2017, trying to create urgency around digital transformation, were like, oh my God, the rug got pulled out from under us. We don't have the data, the technology, the infrastructure to do any of the things we need to do to kind of reach our end consumer directly. And everybody sort of got religion when there was a pandemic, because we're like, whoa, we can't get the people into the stadiums and do the things we normally do. This industry's already forgotten that. And I think as humans, we do that. We forget traumatic experiences so we can move on, but we've already forgotten that. I am going to say something that I will convince you by the end of the day is not hyperbolic. This technology is about to change all of our lives. It's about to change your job. It's about to change how you make money. It's going to change everything. And I got that about 6 or 7 months ago. And I started my personal journey. And the first thing I did was I said, well, man, I don't know what I'm talking about. I have a career in technology, and I've been a technology analyst since the very beginning. But I feel like a confused old man. I feel like things are just moving way faster than I can even get my hands wrapped around. But I was a little insulted. So I said, hey, look, hey, come on, let's be honest. Like, I'm not that old. But just look at the differences between these two pictures. 1, the sweater. 2, the beard. Doesn't have a ring, doesn't have a necklace. And then ChatGPT said, well, like, let's make him younger. I know we're desensitized to this, but that's freaking amazing. And what you just saw from State is amazing. And what we all are hearing is that this is as bad as AI is ever going to be. If that doesn't terrify you and excite you, you're not human. Because what we're about to see is not in textbooks, it's in our fingertips. And that's why I'm betting my company's future on this technology. You are going to use our data today in the context of AI to see how it will transform the sports industry. You are going to use tools you've never used before to see how quickly it builds applications and how quickly it can actually make a website or a presentation. And if you walk through those doors at the end of the day and you don't believe what I just said to you, then we have a problem. You have my email address, you can call me, and I will absolutely help you get your head wrapped around this. Because what I did over the last few months is really important. One, I did something you nerds will never do, which is I read a lot of technical documentation. Don't do that. Two, is I watched a lot of videos that were made almost entirely from AI from scratch, with the cartoon characters, with the movie characters, with the actors, with the lighting, with the rain, with the shadows. It's mind-blowing. I used AI to make all the drafts of my presentations, and Gina will tell you my presentations are terrible, so this was a minor improvement, but it was a major improvement to me, which was it pulled in imagery, it could make my stuff more concise, and it told a narrative better than a CEO who's preoccupied with a million other things. And then what really blew my mind, and you guys will get exposed to this later, is I used some of these tools that actually can build applications. And I put the URL of our internal tools into the system, and I said, make me my application. And it did. And it was functional. It wasn't functional the way that ours was with all the drop downs and all the other features, but it worked. And then probably the thing that I would encourage all of you to do, because taking a journey, kind of being on a pilgrimage is helpful to immerse yourself in a place that feels foreign. San Francisco is a weird place for a number of reasons. But the main reason is because they are the epicenter of this technology, the investment, and the way that the world is working. I hate people who do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. How many of you have been in one of these? Okay, this is a Waymo. There are about 300 plus of these roaming the streets of San Francisco. I am such a nerd. I read all the technology stuff and like I live on this stuff. I'm really trying to just understand the world. And I was like a little kid and a tourist at Disneyland. I was taking pictures of these things running around being like, what the hell is that? Everybody in San Francisco pretends like this is normal. I've been at CES when they, Intel brought their car and you could go from one part of the strip in Las Vegas to the other. And I got in there and I was like, oh, this is weird. There's nobody driving this car, but it's only going there, so I'm cool. This is going everywhere. Literally stopping, looking at traffic signals, doing everything. All those cameras are making this work. That's just not normal. You know the car commercials when we're watching sports where the guy's like driving down the street with his truck and then he goes like this? I'm like, why would anybody want to do that? He does it in the car commercial. I'm like, I don't know if that's a feature I want in my car. He's just letting go of the steering wheel. There's nobody in the front of this thing. It blew my mind. And I literally felt like a foreigner in a different land. But the most important thing I did out there was I talked to all my venture capital friends. The nerds that I've spent the last 2 decades investing in technology with, understanding where these companies are coming from, who's starting them, what they're building, what the problems are, what the limitations are, what's going to change this industry. And to Gina's point, they validated something fundamentally important to me, which is the technology is earth-shatteringly phenomenal. The speed it works, the compute it uses, the learning and the speed and all of that. But if it doesn't know what problem it's trying to solve, and you'll see this later when we write prompts and when we try to solve a problem, you have to be very specific with it. Where does that specificity come from? It comes from your brain, your ability to know what problems you need to solve, how your industry makes money, how your teams are organized, what workflows are really needing of efficiency, and then how you guys organize as a company for the future. That should be empowering. That should help you fight against those robots that Gina showed you at the beginning because you know how your industry works. Okay? So that was my journey. I talked to a lot of experts. They said, hey, if you understand something very specific about your industry, if you have specific data, you should be in good shape. So today is not about letting you leave here with some certificate you can put on LinkedIn and everybody can call you really smart. This is about you feeling like I feel, which is just a little bit more in control of understanding what's happening. Because your job, as you leave here today, is to really understand exactly what's happening. And when I started to get more confident, I started posting more on LinkedIn about this stuff. And LinkedIn isn't a place to go and tell everybody how smart you are. It's actually a place to get a lot more information from people who are smarter than you. So when I start talking about AI on LinkedIn, people are like, oh, but did you know about this company? Oh, you're not really right about that. It actually works like this. So it's a great way for you guys to immerse yourself in a conversation with people that are a little bit closer to some of this technology than we are, because it's moving so fast. The other thing that I did, and this is Mike and I at Sports Pro, I started talking at events so I could hear how other people that were experts in this industry were talking about what was coming next. We did that at Sports Pro, we did it at CES, and what I continue to come back to is what I started this entire talk with. In our industry, and already Gina captured some of these questions, we make money from content. As advertisers, as agencies, as media companies, and you know what AI doesn't give a crap about? Who owns the content? Now, oh, that's not true, Josh. It puts the sources on the... It doesn't care. It's going to eat it all. Okay? And this industry makes most of its money with media rights. And the lawyers at the NFL are going to chase everybody. The lawyers at the NBA are going to chase everybody. The players who own their voice and their name and their image and likeness, the things that you guys immediately identified were huge problems. That's at the underpinning of our industry. But the thing you can do is know your fans. If you own your fans and stop worrying as much about owning and protecting that content, you will win in the age of AI. That's my bet. That's the bet for my company. That's my soapbox to convince you today, which is understand who these people are so that you can have a better conversation with them. Because all of this is about having a conversation. Now, ChatGPT will tell you, like, it can make mistakes. I can too. I've only been doing this for a year in terms of like diving into AI. I'm no expert. I don't have a badge to put on my LinkedIn profile. But I'm going to tell you everything I know. And what I'm going to really try to do is put it in context. Because some of you are as old as me, some of you are much younger. I want you to know how we got here so that you can really process where we're going. So stay with me for a few more minutes of a little bit of a history lesson, because this will help us understand where we're going in sports. The first thing to remember, and Gina showed you this in the chart, was how fast we're getting here, right? The internet took a while to get going because we didn't have broadband. We weren't connected. There weren't millions of websites and blogs and all this stuff for AI to eat up. The internet laid the groundwork for this AI revolution. There's more data, there's more content for it to eat up. So we are prepared for this to go at light speed. Think about this. Really take a moment to think about this. The internet was made visible by browsers. If you're old enough to remember Netscape and Microsoft Explorer, it was the first time we could see something other than a green prompt on our computer. It unlocked an enormous amount of new information and activities we could do. Then mobile made it so that we could carry that thing around with us wherever we wanted to. So now we had a visual thing that we were more accessible because of mobile. And then data visualization made the internet more useful. For the first time, we could see patterns and trends across a massive amount of information in a click of a button, and it was on a dashboard, and it was in our application, and we were like, oh my God, I didn't know sales was doing that badly. Or, ooh, I didn't realize that my team in India is actually exceeding their expectations, or my users are now dropping off my application faster, or their shopping cart is this. Like, we could see those things. And this one, I think, was kind of subtle, but it blew my mind. You could be in a document, that little circle in the corner that says J or A or B. We're all working on the same thing from different places. It was so subtle. We're like, oh, of course we would be. This makes sense. We're all working on the same document. That's crazy. Remember how we used to worry about version control and who messed up what and like who was in the spreadsheet last? Like that wasn't happening anymore. So AI goes the one step further. take that progression, walk it through, and then go, oh, well, it makes perfect sense now that computers are going to be more human. They're going to be more relatable. They're going to be more conversational. Look at this example that Gina pulled for me. Who in your company talks to you like this? I'd love to help you create a New York Liberty Fan Central website. That sounds like a perfect project. Let's build something beautiful and engaging. Wouldn't it be awesome if all of our coworkers said that to us and we had an idea? That's what AI is already talking to us like, because we're just talking to a computer. It's very, very compelling to have a tool that can both automate and augment what we are going to do. Okay? And I, again, have bet my company's future on the fact that with better data, we will know exactly when and where this will happen. And this is my goal for you, to empower you to leave here today feeling like you have a better sense of when and where some of these changes will start to impact your job, your company, and this industry. Okay, so that was a little, path down context lane and setting up the stage for this. Now we're going to nerd out. I hope you guys are ready for this, because this is like acronym soup stuff, and we're going to get like really weird. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to get a little weird. The LLM stuff is large language model. The RAG stuff is retrieval augmented generation, and the agent stuff is what people are saying when they say agentic AI. We're going to go through that. Those are important terms. You may forget them someday, and they may not be as valuable, but they are today. I will give you a cheat sheet on agent versus agentic AI, because I think just having that, but there's millions of resources on the web, but I will touch on it because I think conversationally, you guys will probably understand some of these concepts a little better. And then I will impress upon you that the data infrastructure is everything here, because everything we're going to talk about is what trains the model, right? What trains the model leads to how the model performs, leads to the types of answers you get. Okay, so the nerds are talking about this stuff because the nerds love to use buzzwords that we don't understand. It makes them feel more important than us, and then we don't, feel like we can stay at their parties, which aren't usually that fun. The generative AI stuff versus the traditional AI stuff, it's early, right? I just told you this stuff was just launched about 3 years ago. The purists will say we've been doing, machine learning since the 50s. That's all true. But like we just saw the power of it with ChatGPT roughly 3 years ago, and now we're already saying traditional generative AI versus agentic AI. So I love this diagram, and unlike some of the large language models out there, I actually do provide attribution for my sources. I did not make this. Rij did, and if I butchered his name, I apologize. But I use his stuff on LinkedIn all the time. He's a great guy to follow. Do you want to show me how to do this real quick? Just share. Okay, that's the diagram. And you guys will all get access to these slides, but I'm going to walk you through it by drawing, because A, that's how my brain works, and B, I think it's helpful to kind of just talk through how this works, right? Okay, so I'm just going to recreate that, but I want you to understand what's happening. So a lot of those large language models, and you know what they're called, and I just keep saying ChatGPT because it's the one most of you know, but there's others. There's Claude. Sorry?
Copilot.
There's Claude, and Mike and I actually did this. When you ask Copilot if it's built on Microsoft technology, it says yes. So while it is also built with OpenAI and things like that, Microsoft is already claiming ownership. So it's awesome. Okay. So anyway, you have all these, and I'm not going to write them all down, but just think about these as like ChatGPT. And these are LLMs, right? Large language models. And what they did was they went out and copyright and terms of service be damned, they scoured the entire internet to learn as much as they possibly could. And you guys remember how Uber got built? They just didn't care about livery rules. They just kind of rolled out, right? And then eventually they were big enough that they were the de facto leader. That's what a lot of these LLMs are doing. They just have to go get as much information as possible, and they're kind of stepping on toes everywhere. But if you want to see how sports has to protect its own stuff, think about how the New York Times and, McGraw-Hill and all these guys are fighting over the textbooks and all the resources that these things have consumed to build their base knowledge. That's what they did. They went out, they scoured the entire internet, and then they provide us with a framework to get an answer. Now, most people will say these aren't programmed, right? They're just not going through a set of rules to get to that answer. They're actually looking for patterns. They want to be able to fill in an answer, interpret some text, understand the context of language so that they can provide you with an answer. And so don't think of it as linear, but think of it as trying to get you to an answer within the construct of what it's been trained on. Okay? When Gina says she doesn't know what RAG means, again, the key term here is retrieval. So I always think of this, and again, always check what I'm saying, but like, I think of it as this like, oh, I'm trying to answer something, but I don't have all of the information I need. So it goes out and tries to get some information to come back and help me finish and give you the answer that I need. So it's retrieval augmented generation, right? Because it's going out, retrieving some information that it didn't already have, wasn't already trained on. That's how I think about it. Technically, I could be sort of right, could be sort of wrong, but that's kind of really what I think of as like the next generation of it. And then the final piece is where we're starting to talk about agentic AI. And agents are the thing that has most people super, super excited. Because what they start to do is they start to add the concept of memory, right? And I always think of this as like me trying to make buffalo wings. I know how to make buffalo wings. Oh, but I just saw this video and I don't have baking powder, and that's how you make them more crispy. So I have to go to the store, get the baking powder, come back and make them. Now, I learned that last time I put too much baking powder on it, so I probably don't want to use as much, maybe too much paprika. I'm using my memory, right? Which is, I tried to do this thing before. I went out to this website. I tried to grab this. It took me too long. I used too much compute. I dragged the process down, and maybe I didn't even give the best answer. If I run that, and then I learn from that, the next time I do it, it should be better. And that's what agents are really going to start to do, and that's why people are thinking of them more as autonomous, right? That they can make recommendations. They can do things called reasoning, because they have the context of doing something maybe before or in the past. Okay? So that's how I think about this. This is a super helpful way for you to think about the evolution. And basically, this is happening all at the same time. So unlike, oh, the internet made it, browsers made it more visual than this. No, this is happening all at the same time, right? It's all happening like today. And my example of that is when I was doing this, I just closed this out. No. Stop sharing. Don't forget. What happens when you try to actually do something for yourself? So that's how I think about it. But then I was making this presentation, and this is the bonkers thing. As soon as I figured that out, and I was like, oh, I should share that with people. I think it's helpful. It's a good framework for thinking about this. I literally opened up my email, and I got this thing from Google, which said that they're working on agent-to-agent protocols. So if the whiteboard is bigger, put another column here, and now the agents are helping each other. Like, oh, hey, you ever make wings before? Yeah, I made wings before. I screwed it up. I put in too much. Oh, well, this guy's trying to make wings, and I don't have the information I need to complete that. Well, maybe we should help him. That's how I think about it. I think it's like crazy that all these things could be happening at different companies, helping this technology come together to help you finish or do what you need to do. Okay? Very wild, very fast, all changing. This content is in here for you guys to have as a way to reference some of the things I just talked about. I don't like the term non-deterministic. I like probabilistic, because I honestly don't even know what that means. So think of it as like this can generate different answers for the same prompt. If you do it a few different times, this one is going to give you the answer that it thinks is best. And you're probably going to get that same answer every time because it's using deterministic data. That's what we have at Sports Innovation Lab. which is we know exactly which fans bought from the NBA. We know exactly how much they spent on FanDuel, so we know you have a high-value sports bettor who loves the NBA. That's deterministic. It's not trying to take some survey data and go, oh, I think we got an NBA fan who likes to bet. Because you could run that at different times and find out different answers. Okay, so Gina likes trivia. I don't think there's a snowball's chance in anywhere that you guys are going to get this. But hey, what's that number mean?
What do you think there are 70,000 of?
Companies?
Ah, who said it first? I heard it like 5 times. You can't play. You work for us. Who knows? Someone said it. Pretty much. Put it up.
Oh, jeez. Okay,
There's
we'll give Mike the
okay,
t-shirt.
70,000 AI companies.
And there's
Let's get it, all right.
okay.
Give you both.
We'll give everybody a t-shirt. Everybody gets a shirt. So what that means is that we're at that stage. And how many of you know what the Gartner Magic Quadrant looks like? Where the hype cycle, like they have all these tools to show us how technology innovation happens. My background was at Forrester Research, and I've watched all these different sort of industries evolve. And what usually happens is, A, there's 70,000 companies, because venture capitalists are like lemmings and they chase all the ones that look like the other ones, and then everybody has billions of dollars. And then what we also get is this like proliferation of crap that we don't need to know. And I want you to know you don't need to know this stuff because it's all going to go away. What you do need to know is that AI is going to touch everything you use. Back to my original statement, AI is going to touch everything you can use. And so, I mean, we're in Microsoft Garage. Just think about this if you're a Microsoft shop. Think of this if you're a Salesforce shop, if you're a Google shop. Every application that you have will have a natural language interface to it and will be able to use AI to help you do your job and your role and the tool that you're using everywhere. And so my team, because they're so visionary, spent time thinking, well, if there's 70,000 companies, how do we make this digestible and valuable to our audience when we actually present this? And so we gave this a shot. And I can tell you, because I made numbers of these over the years, this could be 5 or 6 or 7 slides big. I just wanted to give you a representative sample of both productivity tools and industry-specific tools, and give you the context within which AI is starting to represent itself earliest. Okay? We can talk about this later. We're going to give you a resource that has access to this, so you guys will have a lot of opportunities to ask questions about this. But these are the basic areas that I think, and my team has validated, that there's both concentration of effort, you know, new technology, and certainly a place for you guys to keep your eye on. So I've said this before. I think it's important that you guys remember this. It starts with the data. What you train it on will give you the quality of responses that you're looking for and help you unlock the value. I'm just going to blow through the next part and then we'll get to the demo. Yeah. Okay. So that means that in the new age of sport, you have to know your fans. I think the best analogy is, have you ever been invited to a dinner party or a party where you didn't know anybody?
Yeah.
We all have. It's kind of hard to talk to people, right? Yeah. Where do you work? Who'd you come with? Oh, nice suit. Well, where are you from? We don't know anything about these people. I have been selling for 8 years in this industry. You can tell me you know these people. Most of you are lying. Most of you do not and are not prepared for the new age of sport. You have to be, because AI is going to be behind the scenes, and all your customers are going to know, all your fans are going to know, is that they're getting sushi at the ballpark because that's what they love. It will be personal. Fandom will be personal at scale. And the companies that know their customers the best will have the most meaningful conversations with those customers. You will know the fluid fan. You will know what communities they're part of. You will know where they are on their fan journey, and you will be able to address their needs and monetize them in ways you possibly couldn't imagine in the past. You want examples? I was at ESPN Edge. That's their innovation conference. They're up on stage. Jimmy's up there. He's talking about personal sports centers, which means you're on Sports Center and I'm on Sports Center. We're watching at the same time, but I'm one of those guys that just love those betting lines, wants to hear those guys screaming at each other, and I just want the old traditional men's leagues raw. You're getting documentary style stuff, better storylines, some of those women highlights that you're really interested in, and that's completely different, and we're watching at the same time. ESPN's talking about this. It's not fantasy stuff, right? And they're talking about it because of this company and several others like it. This is WSC, and I know many of you know WSC, but do you know what they're literally doing, which is taking one game and turning it into literally hundreds of different, thousands of different formats of content for sponsors, for brands, for players, for anybody who wants it. Greenfly, one of the same companies that's in my investor portfolio with Sports Innovation Lab, is now allowing athletes to distribute their own personal content on social media because they can do this stuff so much faster, automate it, and things of that nature. This is happening. This is why ESPN can say we're only a few years away from having a personalized sports center. The other example that I wanted to give you guys is the concept of the fan experience, right? Showing up at a stadium. Everybody's been saying, oh, we got this wayfinding out that lets me find the parking lot. That's like boring, right? It doesn't know that I'm with my college buddies and I want to tailgate and smash some beers on my head, or that I'm with my family and I want to have the slowest walk into the stadium because I want to leave early too because my kid is crying the whole time. Doesn't know that, but it should. And the only way that these applications get this smart is with AI, right? We've talked about digital twins. It's the technology that can replicate the stadium. But think about what else it needs. It needs to have sensors in the parking lots to know which ones have capacity and which ones are overflown. They need to know which direction I'm coming from, so they need to be connected. All that stuff is possible at scale with AI. We're not uploading a PDF of our parking lot and hoping that Satisfy Labs can make a recommendation on where they should park. That's what we're doing today, and it's getting better, but this is as bad as AI is ever going to be. Thank you for that line, Chris. This is another example of where you can expect to see some of this AI stuff coming. This is NVIDIA's video on their website. This is the digital twin technology, right? There's a company called OnePlan that does this for the Olympics. NVIDIA is doing this for ships, for buildings, for all kinds of different places. It's using technology to take apart physical objects and map them so that there can be more intelligence derived from what those things look like. And we will get there with stadiums, we will get there with parking lots, and we will get there with a lot of other areas in sports. Now, this is my friend Peter, who's here, P. This is Play Anywhere. And some of you, if I was in your seat, I'd roll my eye. Okay, we've been doing this forever. We've been talking about personalized advertising and targeting forever within the context of sports. The joke I always use, and it's sort of getting really old, is we all see the same truck commercial no matter whether we're in the market for a truck or not, because the truck guys bought a national ad buy and it's going to be shown to us. We all see sports betting ads because they bought a national ad buy, even if sports betting isn't legal in my state. So the point is, what Play Anywhere is doing and what AI allows them to do is to have identified consumers that can get personalized ads, and they can monetize this for the rights holder. Play Anywhere's technology is as much about putting this, bottom third and the logo that you'll see in the sports betting application here, as it is. I know, the next one. Getting there. It's as much about like having these graphics show up on rights protected content as it is about monetizing that for the rights holder, for the broadcaster, for the league, for the property, for the team, for whoever. Because this is complicated. This is rights protected content. If we're going to allow AI to personalize this stuff, localize this stuff, target it, and the consumer acts on this, then people want to get paid. And so what Pete's company is doing is actually working on that harder problem, which is how do you make sure that there's an accounting and infrastructure underneath this that allows this to happen at scale? Okay, So that's why I'm excited about Play Anywhere. That's why I think AI is going to get us from the point where we were talking about, truck ads to where everybody's getting something different. Okay. I learned very early on in my career that repetition works. There it is again. Now it's about us thinking about the data behind this thing. Because if you don't have the right data, no sushi for you. Okay. This is my last part, then we'll break, get you guys some like cookies and stuff like that, and come back, okay?
We're gonna demo then cookies.
Demo then cookies. Okay, make them work. Okay, consumer graphs. If you guys are here, you probably know what a consumer graph is, right? You know that you have some data on your customers. You probably know what they search on. You probably know how many app downloads they have. You probably know if they bought something from you. Probably know when they became a customer. You probably know the last time they did something with you. You might be doing something really clever. In our industry, these are the companies that have actually pulled together a lot of consumer data. And the most sophisticated customers or prospects that I talk to are working with CRM, CDP, these kinds of data companies to either pull together viewership data, email lists, enrich it with live analytics, or pull in some information from Epsilon, Experian, Acxiom to try to figure out some household income and stuff like that. Okay? That's like the gold standard of where this industry is today. And I've called all the people that say, oh, we're using AI in our operations. They're not. Okay? They're just simply not that sophisticated yet. They're still using basic consumer graphs to answer important questions. These are important questions. I am not dismissing the fact that you can learn a lot about your customers by looking at your own internal data. But that is not the promise of AI. The promise of AI is that you're going to take something like that and learn a lot more about who these customers are. In our data, we can literally tell you their wallet share, if they're churning, if they've been a customer of yours or your competitors, and how long, the duration of their lifetime value. We can get at all those details. And AI can put that stuff on steroids because it can go out and get additional context from other sources and other internal databases. This is powerful because now we're answering these kinds of questions. And these are the kinds of questions you want to use to target advertising. These are the kinds of questions you want to use to sell sponsorship. These are the kinds of questions you want to use to design experiential, stadium experiences and things of that nature. This is the gold. And I know you don't have this data because this is really hard to get. And it's really hard to model. And we think every single day about the fan journey. Are they just becoming a fan? Are they about to stop being a fan? Are they have a high propensity to become a fan and they just haven't been exposed to this cornhole league yet? They're in there. Pickleball's in there, cornhole's in there, Western sports are in there. Are you aware of whether or not your fans care about that stuff? No, we are. And they might be the most adjacent audience to your fan base. They might be the next thing that DraftKings and FanDuel want to put on their app because people are betting like crazy on it. If you don't have it, you don't know. And so we think that this is the future of combining this with your own internal data so that you're getting not only what you know today, but what you don't know. And that's the boring part of this. It's the same crap we've been working on for years, right? It's our CRM project. It's auditing our workflow. It's understanding how our team works. That stuff sucks. It really does. That CRM project's cost you guys millions of dollars. It's probably never done, right? But what ChatGPT did was it put a layer above it all and said, structure be damned. Let's go. And that's what AI is going to do, okay? So some of the pain that has made this really hard to do in the past is going to get easier, but it does start with you guys going back to your companies and asking these simple questions. Now you can put this into ChatGPT and get a whole bunch more questions, knock yourself out. I think people would kill you. Just go in and say, hey, are we organized to do this stuff? Where's like most of our fan intelligence today? Like I don't work in technology. Just tell me, where would I learn this? Where would I know this about our customers? Where would I be able to pull this information in? Then say things like, hey, can we connect between our departments and our regions? Because the guys in the Western region have different data than we have on in the East Coast. Maybe there's something we can learn from each other. Let's just connect this stuff and see what comes out. Let's discover stuff. Let's use AI to discover stuff. These questions can unlock some of that information for you guys. Okay, final 4 slides for me, and then we're gonna get into the demo, and that's really gonna blow your minds, which is your role is this. Okay, also giving attribution to Section because I attended one of their learning sessions, and I really, really liked this concept, which is your role today, until we're all robots, is to know that you need to instigate and manage the process of AI. That's what we mean when we say write a prompt. That's what we mean when we say, let's be clear about what we're trying to achieve here. What's the workflow? What's the task? What do we need to get done? If you're an instigator and a manager, you're throwing that stuff into something, right? Remember all those words I used? RAG, agent, LLM. It doesn't matter. What comes out, though, does matter. You are both the judge and the decider on whether or not this stuff should ever be used. This is our superpower. Don't lose it. Cultivate it. Today, think about it. When we're using these tools, be like, I wouldn't trust that. If I were to trust that, I would need to know this. Okay, ask it. See if you get a better answer, right? This is what kids do to us all the time. No, mommy, that's not right. Daddy said, I didn't say that. That's the point. You guys have to be able to question this stuff and know where it's going to happen. Your team today has a lot of people straight out of school, a lot of interns, a lot of people that maybe you use on a contract basis. They come in because they offer low value, but you hope to grow them. Maybe they're going to stick around, and you have very few high value people. I found this really interesting. Section believes, and I tended to agree with them after I wrapped my head around it, these go away. These go away. You're automating all the stuff that you hire researchers, interns, people like that to do. Kind of weird. What's the entry-level job look like? Not really sure. But we're going to have a little bit more of this and a little bit more of this because you're the judge and you're the decider. And that, to me, makes sense. Okay? So I think if you can think about this like, hey, we're not all going to lose our jobs. The way that we hire and the way that we grow talent and the way that we think about our job will change. We probably don't want to be in this camp. And that scares me as a dad whose kid is going to college. But like, I'm trying to figure out what that means for like career development and all that stuff. They're going to probably use AI and take our high value jobs. Okay, so that's it for me. We are going to get you started now because you've heard us talking for a lot of time now. What I want to do is bring up Travis. Travis has been working with us for probably about 2 months now. We've given him some really like fun data to play with. It's data that comes directly out of our database. We have learned so much from working with him because he's such a nerd. He gets to spend literally all day playing with every new tool that's out there. Twinbrain.ai is his website. We're going to give you some tools at the end of the day that you'll be able to reach him and everything else. But what he's going to do for us now, and what literally blew my mind when I saw it, was we took our data and we developed something that we've been asked to do a lot, which is help somebody build a sponsorship deck, present value to a brand, and close the deal. Okay? So with that, Travis and I are going to walk through this. Do you want to pull up the data set?
Data first, yep.
Yep. We already showed this. Did we already show this?
Not long enough, though.
Not long enough. Let's stare at that for a while. What was the name of your team?
I sent you that in confidence.
What was the name of your team?
The Panthers, I think. So long ago. Pile Panthers.
Okay. Did you get tatted out as a kid?
I think so. I saw that. I didn't know what was going on back then.
Okay.
Are
we doing this again?
Yeah, one more trivia.
Okay.
Who knows what GPT stands for?
I love this. I know that you guys don't know the answer to this. It's crazy. We
Yeah.
say it all the time.
I know it, but it's not there.
Oh, then don't cheat.
Oh, someone want to take a guess? Or you got a hand?
I'll try.
Yeah.
Generative pre-trained transformer?
That was he already knew that wasn't a try. That's right.
Oh, you got
Oh.
it. You get a shirt. What shirt does he get?
Wait, really?
Oh yeah, this is awesome. We actually have Amelia from Exposure Skate here. It's a nonprofit, empowers women, girls. It's a very inclusive property that's all about skate. They have the biggest championships, they have the sickest tricks, and you get a very cool Exposure Skate tee. So you get to pick your size and we'll send it to you. Where are you, Amelia? There she is. Where's Amelia? There she is. So if you want to talk to her and learn about women's skate, it's badass. And they got great merch.
Yeah.
All right, so these guys are going to pull up the demo. And keep in mind, we're using a fan data set. They're going to tell you a little bit about it. It's our data set. It could be your data set. It could be yours plus ours. It's a data set you have on your fans. So we're going to start with this poor guy. This is paying attention.
Okay. So, what we do at Sports Innovation Lab is we organize fan data in a number of different ways. What you're looking at here is a table that got pulled directly from our database that compares Angel City fans to the general population by community. Okay? So these are the communities that we have created because we care a lot about sports fans and we know that there are different types of communities out there. We have an alternative wellness, which is code for pot and cannabis. We've got auto racing, we've got beauty enthusiasts, we've got all these different things, right? All these communities, there's loads of them, and that's one of the tables that we asked Travis to look at. The other way that we organize data is by what merchants they spend money with. I'm going as fast as I can. Here. Where's the other? And then the other table that Travis will pull up is the one where we actually look at which of the merchants these fans spend money with. So I showed you what community they're part of, and now what we're showing you is who they spend money with. So we have some things that we learned while we were doing this, which Travis will touch on, but some of the things that we learned was the way that we organize our data, like those column headers, can sometimes confuse AI, sometimes it can be really easy for AI. So even just the way that we've designed our backend database was a huge learning for us, which is A, the size of these files that it can consume, and then obviously how we've organized them. But with that, what you guys are seeing is the Angel City fans in the general population spend with these brands, and this is the category, and this is the percent of the audience, and this is how much they spend, and stuff like that. And then what we wanted to do was compare that to Angel City fans and not the general population, right? So it's like, it's trying to figure out, do they spend more or less than the general population? Are there more of them or less of them than the general population? Those indices give us the ability to ask some of the questions Travis will walk us through, and then you'll see the end result. Is that enough?
That's perfect.
Cool.
So we're using Microsoft Copilot. This is a Microsoft event. Which is trained on OpenAI's model. So it's the same model that powers ChatGPT, although you'll get different results. So we wanted to keep this super simple and generic, and we didn't want to over-engineer the prompts, just keep it simple so you could see how powerful these tools are. So we first fed it the community data set that Josh just ran through. And all I asked it, 8 words.
Can you just, I'm just going to be annoying. Can you show them how you uploaded a CSV real quick?
There's a couple of different ways that you can do it. You can drag and drop, which I like to do. You can also click on the link here, plus upload. And then you also have degrees to which the LLM can think. So you've got these 3 options here: quick response, think deeper, and just to give you a sense for how rapidly evolving the industry is. Yesterday, when we put this presentation together, the deep research was not even an option on Copilot. And here it is today. I've got it pulled up, and now it is. Deep research has been available on ChatGPT for their pro members for a while. So what we did, we used the Think Deeper, which basically just has extra steps in the logic and the way that it reasons and thinks through these issues. So we uploaded the data set. We asked, what can you tell me about this data? And it gave this really thorough, long response, which is amazing how insightful it is. It says, below is an analysis of the data provided, which contains audience segmentation information for Angel City FC covering periods of January 2024 to January 2025. It identifies the various columns and metrics, community, spend per fan, percent of audience. Now, typically when Sports Innovation Lab sends their data to clients, they include a data dictionary because to Josh's point, a lot of the columns are not super intuitive. It's not natural language. And despite that, it was still able to understand what the indexing data was, which I thought was super fascinating.
So real quickly, scroll back up and let's do the horse racing bullet. So remember I told you that we have a lot of different data on who these fans are, where they spend their money. It was able to see that horse racing fans are reported to spend, an average of $2,800, while fans of women's sports spend $66. Now, look, that could be, again, one of those things where there's not enough data. We have to go back and check that. But if you're dealing with a large enough data set, that disparity, the model pulled out right away. And you're like, oh, here's, no. That's the kind of stuff that I saw this doing right away. I was like, wow, it would take me time to go back and talk to my analyst, say, hey, could you compare this with like the horse racing community? I'm not really sure this makes sense. And I could just interrupt this and go back and ask.
I think, Josh, the key is going to be is everybody in this room go running after horse racing fans? Because what's going to be the checks and balances to say, hey, I'm going to go run after horse racing fans as opposed to these other fans because they spend so much more money. Like, how do you, and maybe you're going to do the magic trick right now.
Well, this is specific to Angel City FC. So this is specific to a certain company.
We would assume, and we've seen this when we've done this for different clients, the predisposition to like one sport versus another sport or be in one community versus another. It's all geographic based. It's sometimes, the way that the team itself brands itself, whether it's edgy or urban or, affluent sort of, luxury experience. All that stuff definitely shows up in our data. But the indices is the really interesting stuff. Yeah.
So in this, you look at like Angel City and then their attributes. Can you create a persuadable fan type of profile that said, well, these aren't fans, but they're highly likely to be?
Yeah. So that's where propensity models and scoring comes into play, where I would look for things that are adjacent to the Angel City fan. I would look for fans that were like them. And I would say, well, these are fans that look almost identical to these fans, but haven't yet engaged with Angel City. Why is that? Are they in different areas of the country? Do they not have access to Angel City content? So those are different types of activities that we can do once we understand what the goals are. And I think that's ultimately what I could ask AI to do too, which is find me the segment of fans that are most likely to become Angel City fans in the future. And that's literally models that we build today. Like we build propensity models, we try to build lookalike models, we do all of that work. I imagine AI is going to make that a lot easier for us as well.
Especially if you could be like, don't bother with these, but don't chase them.
Yeah, and we did do that. When we were doing a lot of this pre-work, we definitely said exclude these, don't look at this, like, because you got to be very specific.
Yeah, great.
All right, keep going.
Yeah, and this demo is narrowly tailored to be creating a deck presentation for sponsorship sales. So we kind of reverse engineered the data to make sure that what we had inputting into the model was relevant to what we're hoping to do. But for what you're talking about, we would have used a different data set but asked the same question. So 8 words, and this is all of the output that we got. Pretty remarkable. So to Josh's point, we're not automating, we're augmenting. So we're going to iterate with Copilot and ask it more questions to derive more insights. So I said, I work in sponsorship sales for Angel City FC. Based on these insights, what are the top 3 communities that I should target? Okay. It thought about it for about a minute, and then it spit out this response. Based on a deep dive of the segmentation data, focus on communities that not only cover a sizable portion of your audience, but also show strong spending behavior and a clear alignment with potential sponsor values. We didn't give it any of those inputs. It automatically intuited that. 1, beauty enthusiasts, and it provides concrete data for why it selected that. Travelers, again, with additional concrete data, and MLB fans. Interestingly, it excluded communities that were naturally over-indexed to be fans of the NWSL, soccer fans, things that were obvious. So I was able to intelligently exclude those and synthesize it to 3 that I thought would be the best fit.
Drill down, say like those beauty brands. I noticed that Ulta was number 1, and then you had Sephora and Sally Beauty. Can you drill down even deeper into that of why those brands would be your best brands to go after?
Absolutely, we could, and we did that to an extent because we wanted to select one brand for the purpose of this exercise. So you'll see as we go on, we are going to narrow the lens of focus just to Sephora.
And not to tell you to,
not to tell you to hold your horses, but you're all going to get a chance to do this right after this. So we are going to literally do this with each of you guys in breakouts, and you guys are going to be able to ask all those questions. And I want you to like play with it. Like that's how we got here. A lot of experimentation, a lot of discovery.
Right. And you can see here, it says naturally fans of women's sports are going to be over indexed to fans of the Angel City FC because there's a natural crossover. So it excluded that. So then we wanted to introduce the next data set, which Josh talked through, which was the merchant specific data indexed to the general population. So we fed it that data. We said, here are some additional data containing Angel City fans spend on specific brands. Can you identify 2 brands within each of these 3 categories where we should focus our sponsorship efforts? So the 3 categories being travelers, MLB, and beauty. There you go. So for each of them, it spit out 2 potential sponsors, Ulta Beauty and Sephora. And again, it gives specific reasons why: audience size, spend per consumer, their spend index. Sephora similarly provides data to support why. Travel, Alaska Airlines and Delta. Alaska Airlines might be over-indexed because there's more flights into Los Angeles than there would be to other parts of the country, so that makes sense. And then MLB fans.
So when I worked at
Quick question.
Sorry.
When you go back to Delta and Alaska, don't you have to prove to Delta and Alaska that this data is true? So just like Nielsen, where we all drank from the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
We said, this is what we're all going to believe in. We're going to move forward. Don't you have to convince Delta, Ultra Beauty, and Alaska that this is true so that they'll make the spend?
Well, I mean, so if you start with the idea that we can communicate to a certain level where we source our data, we're getting our data from multiple different partners, right? So there's a data sharing agreement. We're using Snowflake as our backend. So there's a lot of like data sharing and collaboration. So we're getting some of our data directly from teams and brands. We're also getting our data directly from some of the credit cards and debit card guys out there that are pretty much giving us daily transactions on every one of these. So you can't say we're not getting our data from sports brands and partners, and you can't say that the credit card and debit card data that we have isn't true. What you can say is it might be underrepresented of your total customer base. Maybe some of the trends we're seeing here aren't as big as they would be if you had every one of your customers. But that's where you get to ingest your own data into our system and see how many more we can see, right? So when we say we have 250 million US customers, and then we're able to kind of match that against all the different information that we have from our partners and the purchasing and the banks and the credit cards and debit cards. We get a smaller subset of that. But what our customers can do is put their CRM data into our cloud anonymously, and we can match our stuff, and then we can build that base. So even if we only see 10, 15, 20% of your entire customers, and we know that they definitely flew with Delta because we see it in the data, it would be really interesting if they went a step further and said, all right, we're going to give you 1 million more records or 2 million more records, see if the trend holds. But we don't have that problem because a lot of people that work with us understand at the core where we're getting our data from. And it's that word that I used before, it's deterministic. It's not survey data. We didn't ask these people if they prefer Delta over American Airlines. These are people that have transactions, have interacted. We do see those behaviors in our data.
Josh, isn't it fair to say that because you fed it data, it's smarter? If you just ask Microsoft Copilot this without feeding it specific data, the answers would have been less accurate. When you went and talked about the, LLM, then RAGs, then
Yeah, I do it
agentic,
all the time, yeah.
each, as you go across that, there are more accurate based on you providing the guardrails of the data
Yeah.
you could believe in.
I mean, the Intel CEO at one time said, only the paranoid survive.
Right.
I do this all the time. I go to the LLM, I'm like, tell me this. And it can't. It can tell me broad statements like, you should try to reach fans of the WNBA because women's sports are on the rise. And then, here are some brands that have sponsored the WNBA, and the NWSL should think about that too. But I can't get to this level of granularity, indices and sort of specificity. All right, keep going. We haven't even blown your minds yet.
Yeah.
Good stuff's
And
coming.
really quickly, the second piece of that is even if you did have data that was 100% verified as accurate, when you're using these models, you can't just blindly trust what it tells you. Before you send a pitch deck to a client, you have to verify because it does hallucinate. It might just take a data point in your Excel spreadsheet and hallucinate a completely different number. So you have to have your eyes on it as well.
Just love that it keeps the context of the previous question. It's working itself through this problem with very limited prompts from us. And it gets to this concept of actually pitching Sephora.
So then you just asked this question, which is, okay, can we also incorporate broader context that the LLM is able to go generate on its own that is not specific to our data? So we said, let's focus on Sephora. I want you to research any existing sports-related sponsorship and marketing campaigns that you can find. Place a strong priority on existing NWSL partnerships with a secondary emphasis on women's sports more broadly. Now, this is a good example where if you maybe had 15, 20 minutes, you might want to use the deep research function because it's going to put together a much more thorough and detailed analysis. But despite that, it still is unbelievably impressive what it's able to come up with. So it researches the internet. It found an existing partnership with the Golden State Valkyries, as well as an unrivaled multi-year agreement that they have to sponsor their new league. And it provides, you can see here, sources. So now that we have insights from the data that we fed it, we have context on the data that we gave it from outside sources. We wanted to do a little role play. So we said, pretend that I'm an account executive at Sephora and you're a sales rep with Angel City FC. Sell me on why we should partner with you.
Yeah, and I love that. Absolutely. Picture this. I bring two salespeople in a room and I'm like, all right, let's role play. They don't say that.
This is what it spit out. Absolutely. Picture this. Sephora and Angel City FC, two powerhouse brands built on empowerment, community, and self-expression, joining forces to create something truly game-changing. And then it gives a whole sales pitch, incorporating the exact data from the data set that we provided, and bringing in the outside context that we asked it to find. If I'm scrolling too fast, let me know. There's just a lot to get through, so I want to make sure we get there.
I think it would be helpful if you can copy and paste and send it to the group. I'm being serious.
So
What the prompts would be.
Yeah.
So we have
We'll
the
do that.
prompts pulled out. We've already done that. The only issue is that it doesn't allow you to share when you put data into
Yeah.
a conversation and try to share that conversation. It's not able to, so you have to find workarounds. But if there was no data, for example, and this was just prompting and answers, you could share that through the built-in functionality within Copilot.
But if Angel City sells Sephora, I want a successful.
We could give some screenshots too. So you can see this is where we put in the data. This is the prompt we asked the data. This is the response. So we'll make sure that's added to the resources.
Yeah, and this is my favorite part right here. As part of the sales pitch, it came up with 3 tangible activation opportunities. Match day glam experiences, own your confidence, campaigns with athletes, and then custom kits. So then I asked it to incorporate more of the broader context that we had just asked it to go out and research, and then resend it. Sent a revised pitch.
Hold on.
Don't spoil the surprise. Yeah, it's really amazing. I mean, we experimented with all this stuff, and to be completely a little bit less fanboy here, like Travis did this in a few minutes, like literally a few minutes.
Yeah, this entire process takes 5 minutes. So we're kind of taking our time walking through and explaining everything. And obviously, when you're putting together a pitch deck for a client, it's okay to take 20 minutes, 5 minutes to create it, and then 15 minutes to put your eye and experience on it to make sure that it is tailored for your client as it should be. So then I really like that idea of the activations. And in order to get ideas to be able to feed into what we're going to do next, I said, can you come up with 3 unique creative ideas for each of the 3 activation opportunities that you mentioned? So then it comes up with these really creative ideas: a beauty pit stop pop-up, AR glam booth experience, Instinct Glam and Win challenge, athlete campaigns, a behind the beauty series with the players, a master class, custom kits, ideas for custom kits, a cleat collection. So now we feel like we've got a pretty good scope of what we're looking to do. We've gotten the insights that we want, and we feel like we have a pretty compelling sales pitch, but you're not just going to copy and paste that paragraph to your client, right? So we're going to utilize what we like to call stacked intelligence, which is the idea of taking and chaining together multiple AI tools to create a workflow that's going to make an incredibly efficient and beautiful final product. So I asked it, is anybody familiar with Gamma here? Some people are already using Gamma. You like it? Amazing, right?
I used it this morning.
Used it this morning. It's super cool. And for those of you that don't, we're going to see it in a second. It's effectively a deck presentation AI tool. So I said below is I want to use these insights to produce a 10-slide Gamma presentation. And you provide a well-formatted outline that I can copy and paste as a prompt to generate a compelling sales deck. So then it creates this amazing outline incorporating everything that we just discussed. Okay. So what I'm going to do, we've already done this, but I'll show you how it works. But I think seeing it in real time is the fun part.
Just so you know, too, Gamma's like $20 a month. So it's very accessible. We're not using any tools that require massive enterprise subscriptions yet.
I gave Travis a little bit of flack while he was doing this. I was like, yo, can you not write like so like specific and like this is sports. We talk about like, hey, make me a deck, like do this and do that. And he's like, no, this is the way it has to work. So again, we're at this stage with AI that you need to be as specific as Travis is being. You need to let it know what you need done. But then once you do, you saw the quality of the response. It's just mind-blowing. And he literally said, now make me an outline that I can cut and paste into another tool. It knew what other tool he was talking about, and he's about to do that.
Yeah, Microsoft Copilot is really impressive, isn't it?
And we highly recommend that you also use Copilot.
And on that point, I did, just to give you a sense for what the deep research function looks like, I copied and pasted that conversation into ChatGPT, the entire conversation, okay? And it was very complimentary. It said, you've done a stellar job framing your data analysis into a sponsorship strategy already. And then I asked it, using the deep research function, let's focus on Sephora. I want you to research any existing sports sponsor, the exact question I asked Copilot, but with the deep research function. And every time you work with the deep research, it follows up with 3 questions. Are you focused on direct sponsorships, include influencer partnerships, focus on North America? Yes, yes, yes. And then it took 15 minutes and it compiled from 23 sources and it spit out this much more exhaustive answer, a lot more detail, including, I don't know if, are there people from the Tempo here today? I know they were on the list, maybe they didn't show up. A partnership with the Toronto Tempo. So you can see how much more research and sources and context you can get if you take the extra step and the extra time. So we're going to go into Gamma. We're going to paste in our slide outline. We're going to click continue. We're going to be prompted. There's a lot of other settings that you can play around with if you want. Text content, the max text per cards. We're just going to use the default settings to make it nice and quick. We're going to do 10 cards and click continue. We're going to select a theme. I know Angela, who I think is in the back, hates the term shrink and pink it, so we're not going to do a pink theme here. We'll go with a dark one. And in less than 30 seconds, it's going to have the entire fully animated deck, complete with AI images, graphics. I'm 35, so when I started my career, I had to use PowerPoint, all my school presentations, work presentations.
Get on
Oh my Lord. So the idea that you could do this in 30 seconds with AI is truly unbelievable.
Can you use PowerPoint or Google Slides as the source? Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let me minimize this here. So I'm going to run you through the presentation really quickly. This is all AI generated images. It's got animation, creates these really neat graphics. It's got the activation concepts right there, fully fleshed out. And again, this is just the first pass. It's super easy to iterate with it. If you don't like the AI image, you can give it more context. You could prompt it further for each one.
You can upload the Angel City logos, so it's using the actual logos versus sourcing or trying to recreate them itself.
And if you're a brand and you're working with Gamma on an ongoing basis, you can upload your theme and your brand so that every time you create a presentation, it's already neatly laid out on your branded content. Pretty amazing, right?
They think it's got to be men doing the deal.
I have noticed that the 3 times that I've it's always been men at the end shaking hands. But that entire workflow took about less than 5 minutes to go from relatively unstructured data to a beautifully polished deck presentation that's ready to send to a client. If you want to take it to the next level, there's other tools that you can use to take the PowerPoint and create a video. I actually downloaded this PowerPoint, went to a product called Lumen 5, uploaded the PowerPoint, and within 2 minutes, I had a video right here that it produced. I don't know if we're gonna get sound on here. You can't see it? Can you see that?
You're showing up. on the screen.
First.
Hand raising. Somebody should text them.
All right, here we go.
Can you see that now?
Yeah, here we go.
I'm sorry, I was so hyper focused on my screen, I didn't notice.
Where?
It's much smoother when it's not being.
Now I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Travis. So, I mean, imagine, right, our idea, especially in women's sports, where you don't have a massive sales team or a huge agency. How can we empower you to take whatever data you have? We hope you come and use ours, but any data that you have can be fed through this exact process and in minutes give you the outline, get it into the deck, turn it into the video so you can have something much more powerful to convince more brands to spend on women's sports and really the entire sports ecosystem. So, all right, we're going to go give you a break right now. We're going to get some coffee, eat some snacks, and then we've got 3 sets of, yeah, it's, oh my gosh, Henry, you've been a trooper.
Guys, did that blow your mind? I mean, it fucking blew my mind. Think about how many people are involved in that process today. Just think about going down to your data team, asking them for the data, asking for a videographer to help you with editing of the video and slicing in some of that music.
Weeks.
You
It's
know,
going to take you weeks.
it's going to
Yeah.
easily.
So, okay, we're going to send you off. You're going to get some coffee, refresh for a minute, bio break. And then Travis is going to stay in here. He's going to take a bunch of awesome NBA data and he's going to run through a similar process, but a little bit of different data. He's going to, if you're more of an advanced user, you want to see how you can use Snowflake Cortex, pull down some data tables. He's going to make some new stuff using an NBA data. I'm going to show you how to build a website or a newsletter from scratch. I've got volleyball data and some gymnastics stuff we might focus on. And Josh is going to make a fantasy pickleball site. So come find us. I'm going to be over back there. Travis is going to be in here. Where are you going to be? Out there. Come find us. We're going to spend 15 minutes. Get your hands on some keyboard with some new tools, and then we'll have some drinks. So, and come find us with any other questions when we wrap up at the end of the day. All right. So we'll see you guys in about 10 minutes. Come find a demo station.